Next up is Deborah. Before Israel had kings, they had judges. The only judge that was a woman was Deborah. She was also the leader of the military and kicked the Canaanites' ass. In a setting where women were treated like property and their value was based on how many kids they had, Deborah said, "Your gender standards."
You serious?
Alrighty, folks. So my producers have decided to torture me with a bunch of woke TikTok takes on religion. Oh boy. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN.
Hey, Bible Stories for Pride Month.
Oh, God.
I'll be telling you a bunch of little snippets of different characters who were non-gender conforming in the Bible.
Good Lord.
First off, we have Jacob. God renamed Jacob as Israel, and all of his descendants became the nation of Israel. Kind of an important dude. But he didn't always act so doodly. Whereas Jacob's brother Esau was super hairy and liked to hunt and be outside and be a manly man, Jacob was super smooth and liked to hang out with his mom at home and help cook and clean in the tents.
Well, hold up. Wait, whoa.
Wait.
So Jacob is gender non-binary because he's described as a man who lives in tents. I mean, biblically speaking, what that means is that he liked to study. Okay, that's the typical sort of biblical binary, is that you're either a man of the fields or a man of the tents. Jacob, I mean, he has 4 wives and 12 children by them.
Damn, son.
He gets the name Israel in a wrestling match. Jacob's sons slaughter an entire city filled with people. What? So if you like books, you're a girl now? Is that the claim? Or you're gender non-binary? That if you're not super hairy, then you're apparently a chick?
I am a Christian.
Thank you, Darth Vader. Jacob is the least non-binary person you will ever find in Scripture. As a matter of fact, any gay character that was in the Bible, they barely were mentioned. I mean, I can think of a few, but if you're gonna use biblical characters such as Jacob and Enoch and Matthew, whatever, right, to approve transgender stuff, it really shows you don't know the Bible. It really shows that you are desperate for biblical affirmation, which the Bible will never do. It's just not there. But we can move on with that.
Joseph. Joseph is Jacob's son. Jacob gave Joseph a beautiful rainbow tunic. The Hebrew word in the Bible to say the tunic is the same word that describes the garb that virgin daughters of the king would wear. Joseph was the first drag queen.
The actual what? Joseph has 2 sons. They are named in the Bible. He almost has sex with the wife of his master when he is sold as a slave. He's a drag queen? So just to get this straight, Jacob gives Joseph the coat of many colors. I love how that we're now retconning the rainbow into a gay symbol in the Bible. So a symbol that you appropriated in the last 5 minutes and called gay. Now if it's mentioned in a document that is some 3,500 years old, it means gay back then. Magic, how that worked. Also, he's wearing a coat that is supposed to be sort of a holy emblem of Jacob's love. And this means that he is a drag queen?
Are you gay? What? No.
I have the love of my father.
Okay, we're stretching pretty far here. All right.
Go ahead, Darth Vader.
This is so insane. Like, the alphabet community has only co-opted that in the last 20 or so years.
Yeah.
Not 90, well, like maybe 40, like since the 80s. The rainbow as their own.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, the rainbow was God's promise to Noah to never flood the earth again.
It still is.
And it still is.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane that she is even going so far as to even fathom that that's what that means. You know how much of a stretch of mental gymnastics it takes to come to that type of conclusion?
Yeah.
When I saw this, I was just like, what? What are you talking about, woman? Do you even read the Bible?
No, obviously
It's,
not.
or do you just pick and choose which
Yeah.
parts you like and think make your point?
Yeah.
Like, that's more likely
Yeah. It's a horrible
the case.
example. Yeah, it's a horrible example. Megan said, no, no, no. Rainbow didn't stand for what you people made it into. No rainbow stood for the Father's promise not to destroy the world. That's right.
Not
That's right.
necessarily not to destroy the world, but not to destroy the world via a flood.
A flood specifically. So it's
Specifically.
actually a reminder of judgment too, because
Mm-hmm.
so when you associate the rainbow, which is a promise that God said he will not flood the world again, and you associate that, but you have to remember the reason he made that promise is because he did flood the world. So
Mm-hmm.
because of the life they lived. So in other words, behind the rainbow was the judgment
So,
of God, was the wrath of God. So that should
so
make you afraid of using it, right?
I mean, it's just like the mental gymnastics this woman jumps through. I can't even possibly begin to fathom how she comes to that conclusion. Like, it's
Yeah.
just trying to come up with the same conclusion gives me a headache.
Yeah. We're okay. I see you. What they are doing is misgendering and misleading Bible characters. They are breaking their own rules. Whoa.
Facts.
that's
Facts.
that's well said. Especially when today they got all this stuff. You can even, what is it called? Cultural appropriation, all this stuff. And they don't want you to just take on whatever you want to appease, so all this pushback against these things, but they go into the Bible and find biblical characters who have nothing to do with their ideology, and they transform the meaning of the
So
text.
that they can justify their lifestyle.
That is a shame. Anyway, let me mute.
Next up is Deborah. Before Israel had kings, they had judges. The only judge that was a woman was Deborah. She was also the leader of the military and kicked the Canaanites' ass. In a setting where women were treated like property and their value was based on how many kids they had, Deborah said, "Your gender standards."
No, 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 no.
What? Wait, again, I'm so confused. So Deborah is a judge who's also a general, and she goes out to war with Barak.
The chaos.
This means somehow she's a trans lesbian or something? Why? You can't just say she's a powerful woman. Apparently, she was a lifelong single woman with 8 cats who was just really good at generaling. That's strange, isn't it? Okay, I need to check something here in the actual, biblical text. Quote, this is from Judges, Book of Judges 5:7. You ready? Chadlu frazon b'Yisrael, chadelu ad shekamti dvora shekamti em b'Yisrael. Okay, the last few words there means arose a mother in Israel. That's Deborah describing herself. A mother in Israel. Apparently she violates the gender non-binary because she's a lesbian or something. A mother. Okay, continue.
I see dead people.
Deborah has nothing to do with drag queen and gender identity, whatever it is you want to use. Nothing at all. I think even some go as far as using Deborah, even in the Christian world. And I'm not saying this because I'm against women pastor particularly, but Deborah was a prophetess. She was not a pastor. She was not a priest. She was not a bishop. These are not the same things. These are different functions. Deborah was a powerful woman. The reason she was in that position as well, so many so many of the Israelites were so deep in apostasy, and even some of the men that could have been used in position of leadership were not carrying out their duty. So it was like in a time of judgment for them. So Deborah was brought up, and God still used women today in powerful ways. The Bible is not misogynistic. Please don't even try that nonsense with me. But the thing is, to use a woman in that position from a biblical perspective who is carrying out God given responsibility to appease and trying to justify your life today is the worst argument ever. Worse. Okay. Should we move on,
Yeah,
Darth Vader?
these arguments are just terrible.
They
Like,
so weak.
so bad and weak and
Yeah.
pathetic. Like, if they'd done any research, they would have realized their arguments. I look at it like this: is kind of like the parable of the two gentlemen trying to build homes.
Mm-hmm.
And the one built his home on the sand on the
Mm-hmm.
beach because he wanted to be near the water, and the other one built his home up on the stone because he wanted a stable base to build his home.
That's right.
And the one who built his home on the sand, his house got washed away by the tide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's where we headed.
And the one who built his home on the stone, aka the foundation and the word of Christ,
Yeah.
stood the test of time.
That's right. That's right. That's right. The thing is, I have no problem particularly with LGBT people and their position, and I don't. My greatest problem with them is their level of justification of that life. That's my main issue. Is it's one thing you live in a country where everyone have their rights, and that's political. And I don't. I'm Christian, so I understand the political narrative that goes behind that, and I respect it for what it is. But the thing is, when we're trying to justify what God calls sinful, when we're trying to make evil good and good evil, this
Mhm.
is when you get under my skin. Because to me, I'm like, no,
And then trying to use the Bible to justify it.
don't do that. Like I get it. If you struggle, there's some people that I've worked with that were homosexuals. I've been on the streets where I've met many people who were homosexuals, and I spoke to them, shared the gospel with them, and many of those that I've met, they were they were like they were more like, man, just pray for me. Like their attitude was more like, I know this is not what God wants. Please pray for me, and just keep me in your prayer. Like just and you give them a word, and they were very receptive. They would take a book home with them to read. To me, this is the kind of stuff I totally understand. Like, but what we got going on today is that in your face, hate it or love it, you better justify and affirm my life. You want me to lie, and you want me to partake in your self projection, in your confused mentality,
Their
along with you.
delusion, their
Yeah,
self-delusion.
your self delusion. You want me to just join into that bandwagon and go along for your little funny ride, whatever that ride is, wherever you take me with that. I just can't do that. This is where, as a Christian, I have to be like, no, we put our foot down because you guys are playing games right now.
And the problem with that is it's not just that it's their self-delusion, but they make it their entire identity. They base
Hmm.
their entire identity on that one single grain of sand,
Yeah,
that this is who they are, this is what they're all about, and this is the only thing they're about.
yeah, yeah.
And nothing else can come into
Mhm.
their lives and make a difference. And
That is
it's
so true.
why? Why
Yeah,
is that the case? Why
yeah.
is that your entire being is in who you are and what you're about?
Hmm.
Like, there's got to be more to you. You can't have the uh it, like I can't the word
Yeah.
come
I know how you feel, bro. It's just there's really no word to explain this
you
stuff.
can't have the personality as deep as a teaspoon.
That's it. You got it. Yeah, yeah. Appreciate that. Roque, you said I think it's only the French voice that makes it their identity. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
see.
the problem is, okay, they're the loudest.
They are, and that is what's disturbing to me. And people are listening to them, and politicians are making laws in essence. And I
Based
have,
on what they're saying is the
yeah,
influence.
and I have to agree here because for the vast majority of the world who believe in God, and many of us are Christians and identify Christians. Some of us are identify Christians. Some of us are not real Christians. But the thing is, to a large degree, the church is silent on these things. So I don't blame the LGBT for being loud, because some of us who should be talking are not talking, and I think that's not good either. So their voices are being heard because the people who should be talking the most are not saying anything. I listened to Matt Walsh, and as he was talking about how difficult it is even in the Catholic Church, how difficult it is to even get them to speak against this stuff. They can't speak.
Hmm.
They refuse to say anything. And it's not
Yeah.
just the Catholic Church, it's in every single church, by the way. So
Well,
it's like,
because
it's
the
everywhere.
popes already upheld it.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's another thing. But we even have gay bishops and everything, gay popes and so on. So that's nothing new. Yeah, there we go. Let's get back to Ben Shapiro.
Lastly, we got all of our eunuchs. What is a eunuch? Most people think it means a man who's been castrated. It can also just mean an effeminate man who's not interested in women. Jesus said that there's 3 kinds of eunuchs. Eunuchs by birth, eunuchs who were made so by others, and eunuchs who chose to be eunuchs. You know what Jesus said about them? Love and accept them all. Gender is a construct, and it's all affirmed in the good book itself.
So, if Jesus says to accept people who have been castrated,
I've been castrated, you know.
somehow this is equivalent to a man can be a woman now? Fascinating. Okay. I feel like there's a jump there that is kind of goes unnamed.
No comment on this one. I'm not sure if you have anything. I don't have anything. The eunuchs, this was an involuntary thing in many cases, and the ones who chose to be eunuchs, it has nothing to do with transgender. Nothing at all. Zero.
Oh, no, this insane bullshit. Oh my God. Oh, this is so stupid. I'm sorry. I cannot take anyone seriously on Judaism who dresses and does themselves up like this. I can't. I'm not going to hear about Talmudic interpretation from a person who puts themselves out like this. Again, call me judgmental, but that's ridiculous.
There's 6 sexes, genders in the Talmud with many mentions. Let's get into what they are. There's Nakeva and Zakar, the 2 you hear as female and male. Androgynous for an intersex person with both female and male sex characteristics. Tum a person with obscured or unclear sexual characteristics. Halo needs someone assigned female at birth but who expresses male characteristics later in life. Sorry, someone assigned male at birth but develops female characteristics later in life and or has their sexual organs removed. Saris and Eloni often are described as infertile. And while life has lots of rules, don't let binaries be a hurdle to loving yourself.
Okay. Yes, the Talmud describes people who are intersex, people who have sex characteristics that differ from their genetics. Sure. And also, these people all fall into the question of whether they are designed as male or female. That's the question in the Talmud. How are these people treated? That all falls into the sex binary. There's no idea that a man who says that he is a woman is therefore treated as a woman by halakha. This does not exist. It doesn't exist.
It does not exist.
This is the same game that trans activists like to play. They'll say, intersex people. This shows that the sex binary doesn't exist. No, it shows that there are people who have genetic anomalies. I mean, the answer here is what? What I noticed is that this person didn't actually quote the Talmudic sections where they talk about how these people are to be treated qua halakha. Instead, they just say, the Talmud noticed that there are people who are physically male, but dress up as female sometimes. And what conclusion are we to draw from this? Saying that because there are people who are androgynous in the Aramaic, or tumtum in the Aramaic, does not actually extinguish the problem as to whether they are treated as male or female under halakha, because yes, the Talmud is sex binary. It does not suggest that there is a third status that exists for people, and that third status allows you to pick which one you are. We'll get to more on this in just 1 second. First, using the internet without ExpressVPN, it's like having a first aid kit but not keeping it stocked. Well, most of the time, that's probably fine, but what if you suddenly get into a horrible accident and
I disagree. I don't.
VPN.com/BenYT.
No, I disagree. I don't think you have to respect all religions. Let me give you a little scenario. Hey Tyra, I heard you're queer. Is that true? Yes, that is very much true. Well, in my religion, that means you're gonna burn in hell. So, your existence is a sin. Right. I respect that. I respect it. Like, huh? No, I don't have to respect that. Here's the thing. I think you should be respectful toward other people and other religions if you don't know anything about that religion. For example, if you know nothing about Islam, don't talk about Islam. The only religion I will ever criticize or talk about is Christianity, specifically Catholicism, because I grew up with that and I know it. But for any other religion, I can have respect for those people and their beliefs, especially if I don't even know what those beliefs are. But if I'm thoroughly educated on it and I know that their beliefs literally on my entire existence, I do not have to respect that just because it's religion and it's holy. No.
Okay, so a few things. One, if somebody says that they believe that the choices you're making in your sex life are sinful, that doesn't mean that they're denying your existence. It's mean they're very much accepting that you exist as a human being in space-time and also that you are committing sins. This is the basis of virtually all religious activity, virtually all of it. In my religion, we have tons and tons of commandments. People are sinning all the time. Saying to someone that you're committing a sin is not the same thing as denying their existence as a human. Second of all, I do love the standard here. I will never criticize Islam. Okay, I'm just going to tell her right now, Islam is way worse when it comes to the treatment, like in the modern era, of gays, lesbians, transgender people, than any Christian country on planet Earth right now. It is not close. But apparently she has nothing to say about that because she doesn't know enough. I'm noticing that her willful ignorance is very convenient to her multicultural stance. Here we go.
Darth Vader.
Yeah, so I like how she puts a blanket statement over Christianity and lumps Catholicism in with all of Christianity.
Yeah.
It's like not all Christian and not all faiths and beliefs are the same.
No, they're not all exactly the same. And people need to actually understand that not every denomination that claims to believe in the Bible actually do believe what is in the Bible.
Exactly.
It's a very dangerous approach that she took. But from what I'm hearing, though, although she lumps Catholicism with Christianity, her issue is with Christianity because they will not go against Islam, even though Islam are more determined to fight against transgender stuff. But she knows better because these folks will get you. The thing is, the Christians, we are the nice ones. We are the tolerant one. Jesus said, turn the other cheek, pray for your enemies. We try to live in a way, even with those who disagree with us, we learn not to kill them because they disagree with us, unlike other religion will do. But her argument, though, that says because she doesn't believe something, she doesn't have to respect it and so on. Here is the thing. Because a person does not believe something and say they don't have to respect it, that doesn't change the fact that thing might be true. Like, for example, if you say you don't believe that this bottle has poison in it, when the bottle does have poison in it, your unbelief doesn't change the fact when you drink it, you're gonna die. So people think because the Bible is clear that homosexuality is a sin. It's not something God is gonna change his mind about. And this is not a condemnation on homosexuals. I've heard amazing testimonies of homosexuals who've become Christians, who were converted, and God is working in many of their hearts. Let's not get it twisted. But what we have an issue with, going back to the point that I made earlier, is this over justification of the act as if God is going to change his mind because we are so progressive nowadays. Like, people don't realize the Bible tells us in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, I believe is verse 6, I am the Lord and I change not. Jesus also says in Hebrews 13 verse 8, I am the same yesterday and forever. God's word ain't gonna change. God's character ain't gonna change. God's attitude is not gonna change. The same way
is the truth.
Yeah, that's right. Truth doesn't change. It's not subjective nor relative or based on the culture and how progressive we are. That doesn't change a single thing. What's changing is us and our mentality and our so-called character.
Justifications.
Yeah, but ultimately we have to get in line with God. God is not going to get in line with with human beings' behavior. It's not changing his ways to appease to a sinful culture. God will never do that. And so whether you like it or not, however you feel about Christianity and whatever you feel about God and his word, he ain't going to change a thing. And like you said earlier, Darth Vader, Sodom and Gomorrah, destruction by hellfire, was an example of what God will do again.
And honestly, I mean, this just goes to show you how far we've become, and that we use these things there. We've got people trying to use biblical text to justify their actions and justify their lifestyle and justify their behaviors, when it quite literally does just the opposite.
Yeah, it's a
And
it's a desperate move.
no
Desperate move.
matter how much they do it, they don't realize it's not going to change. It's not
Mhm.
going to change what's coming, what's going to happen, and what they're going to have to face, and what they're
Mhm.
going to have to own up to in the
Okay.
end.
Yeah, I like what Welke said here. He said homosexuality is, if defined simply as having temptations. Okay, I can understand that. It isn't sin. It's sin when you consent to wanting sodomy. I think that might be not fully correct. Here's the reason why. Because sin begins in the heart. For example, Jesus will say, if
And
you look,
also,
go
Jesus
ahead.
said that if you look at another woman with lust in your eyes, you have already sinned against God.
There we go. That's exactly where I was going. Because if you don't necessarily have to kill. You can say to your brother, Rakai, the level of anger you demonstrate to other person, saying, I wish I could kill you. In that in itself, the sin is committed. So that there is the spirit of sin, the thoughtful sin, and then there is the act of sin. So we have to also make sure we put those two some in the same category, because that's how God judges it. As humanity, as human beings, we don't go and try to judge people's thoughts. And I think the thought police are doing that, but we don't need to be doing that. But the thing is, homosexuality is a sin, and you cannot have homosexuality without the thought and the act. So if you are tempted towards same-sex attraction, that might be different. That's a temptation in itself, and I think we all have different version of temptation. I'm tempted to do this. I'm tempted to curse. I'm tempted to go and drink. I'm tempted to go and lay with another woman. That's a temptation, and you can fight the thought, and you can overcome that, and you can choose not to act on that temptation. But when it comes to homosexuality, if you are tempted to lay with someone and you choose not to do it, but some people already commit that in their minds, and then they carry it out. But I think, to be more specific, okay, we're talking about people who are, yes, in like with your word, we're talking about people that are carrying out the deed, of course. But again, God is the one who judges the thought, so I don't know what these people are thinking. But we can simply look at it based on how widespread it is, and we can simply say, hey, based on how widespread this thing is, obviously a lot of people are thinking that way, because otherwise it wouldn't be growing as fast as it is today. uh, uh Megan says, do we have
Hang on, Megan. Bear with us. We're almost finished.
last but not least, I
And
think
then we got Tom coming up, because Tom
yes,
just announced that his videos dropped. So
amen, we going for that. Wait a minute, she said what?
his
Thank you, Darth Vader. Sorry about that. Let me fix that. All right, let's do it again.
Cultural stance. Here we go.
Unpopular opinion. God is pro-choice. Never in humanity has God stripped us of our ability to choose. We see this in Genesis chapter 2, when God places Adam in the midst of the garden and presents all of his best options to him, but does not remove the most destructive choice. In fact, God commands Adam not to eat of this forbidden tree, and does not remove the ability for him to choose it.
Yes, God gives people free will. They can make horrible, sinful decisions. That's the story of Adam.
Adam.
So the idea is that Adam did the right thing, that God wants you to do the wrong thing, that God desperately wants you to violate his commandments and do the wrong thing. I'm noticing she doesn't quote the part of Genesis, same chapter where we talk about the actual commandment to multiply and be fruitful.
Multiply.
And notice that. Also not the part about male and female had created them. I'm selective Bible reading here.
Why is this significant? Because God is more concerned with our desire to choose him than he is with the legislation of righteousness. So while God may be grieved at every single abortion, he is equally concerned about the heart posture of the one who has to choose.
The heart posture of the one who has to choose? What is a heart posture? If you feel real bad about the abortion, God's okay with it now? Or if you feel like, oh man, I made a choice and I'm real proud of the fact that I chose, God's okay with the abortion now? No, it seems God is pretty much concerned with righteousness. Again, the rest of the Bible being the evidence of this.
You read the Bible, Greg.
Tzedek tirdof, it says in the book of Deuteronomy.
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides.
Righteousness you shall pursue. It doesn't say abortion you shall pursue, or choice you shall pursue.
With great vengeance and furious anger.
It says to choose life, literally in Deuteronomy. Choose life that you and your children may live.
And you will know my name is the Lord.
So God commands you to make the right choice. He gives you the ability to choose, but then he commands you to make the right choice. Pretending that the choice is more important, the ability to choose is more important than the choice that you make, morally speaking, is of course ridiculous. Alrighty, so that was...
Oh, man. Here we are again.
So, on this one, you want to talk about pro-choice? How about the choice you made to go hook up with a guy, and the choice you made to sleep with him, and the choice you made not to use protection, and the choice you made to not use birth control? How about all those 4 choices prior to getting pregnant, and the choice you made knowing that sleeping with him would lead to having a baby in the first place? There's 5 choices you made prior to getting pregnant. So guess what? You've already made your choice. Now deal with the consequences of those choices and be responsible.
I can just drop the mic. I don't think I need to say anything else. Bro, you just hit the nail in the sure place for me. But talking about choice, right? Well, the same choice you have, or the same choice the people in the state have to vote against your choice.
Hey, Courtney, good to see you.
They do have the same choice not to agree with you. So the same way you want your choice to be respected, respect their choice. Here is the thing. God never intended for Adam and Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. They were given the choice. And the way from the way we look at it from the biblical perspective is that this was a test of love. God wanted to see how loyal they were going to be to him. That's why he allowed it to happen. And there was also another thing to keep in mind. Lucifer had just fallen from heaven. So it's like, here is Lucifer there in the atmosphere, tempting. So in essence, he needed to be given an opportunity also. It's like very difficult for us to understand, because love in itself cannot exist apart from choice.
The thing she fails to realize is God also gave us free will, so that we could choose to do right, choose to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So in doing so with free will, it's up to us whether or not we do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But
and Adam, he had the free will to whether or not he wanted to do that. And notice she only mentions Adam. Yeah. She doesn't mention the fact that Eve was the first to partake of the fruit.
Yeah, that would be misogynistic if you mention Eve.
You know. So I mean, let's get our facts straight here first, okay? Eve's free will was the first to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Adam,
she was the one who got Adam to eat of the fruit.
yeah, I mean, Adam made a choice
And
to follow his wife in disobedience,
exactly.
but Eve was tempted and was deceived, but she still made a choice. But the thing is, God did not intend for us to choose the wrong. That's why when Jesus, what people have to also realize, and this is where they're missing the mark. You see, like the temptation of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden with the tree is like God now gives humanity another choice. Here is sin, here is evil in the world, and we know it, right? And here is Jesus. There goes another choice. Like,
And
what are
here are
you
the
gonna do?
rules that I've set forth for you to follow.
That's right. What you gonna do? Are you gonna blame Adam and Eve for their bad decisions, or are you going to take Jesus as your Lord and Savior and escape the evil and damnation that is to come? Like the choice is now left to us to make. You know, we are left to choose again. And again, this is when people are reading into the scripture to appease a sinful habit rather than to humble themselves under the mighty hand of God so God can lift them up and give them knowledge and wisdom. This is when you know you don't want to hear what the Bible has to say. You want the Bible to say what you want it to say. Uh,
Hmm.
it's a very deadly approach, and that always leads to a very dark place. Um, I wouldn't want to be in that position. And again, it's very scary because when people, it's one thing you choose to believe something that is wrong, but it's another thing that you're trying to get other people to join you in believing what is wrong.
And not only that, but twist it to
You,
make it.
yeah, you're twisting it, and you have to understand not only you will pay for your decision, and anybody else who follows in your footsteps, you'll be responsible for them as well.
Hmm.
Blood is on your hands when you do stuff like this. And if I were if I were her, I would repent real quick because you do not want to get caught. You don't want to wait in a judgment to find out the level of influence you can have on somebody's life because of that decision.